just kind of stall or, talk a little bit and I'll get back.
All right, we're live.
Okay, looks like we are live.
Okay, let me look for the link so I can repost it. And cool. There we are.
Yeah,
Let me get it.
check.
Boom.
Hey, Awesome, you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to mute you again, so just hang with us. So you want to play that video at the top of the show
After the open, not before it.
after
After.
the open? Okay. Why, did I do it wrong last week?
I fixed it in the edit on iMovie.
Oh, fun,
No
fun,
big deal. Hey,
fun.
man, it doesn't matter. Like I said, bro, this is our podcast. I don't give a shit. We do whatever the hell we want. This is
All
our
right.
show.
So if you've posted, tell me when you've posted and I'll just run the intro.
I'm not sure I understand.
Meaning we could start the show as soon as you say go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hang on. Let me just get this posted. And just take me a second here. And this should be fun, man. We're going to have a fun time. Boom.
New intro mixed down. So I'm gonna run.
Okay, Dean, I'm ready whenever you are, bro. Let's do this.
Okay, so then I'm gonna start with the disclaimer, give you a place to edit from. We're gonna do this, put you up solo.
Okay,
And
girl.
here we go.
On average, just in the United States, about 220 people die every single day from an opiate overdose. And by the time we finish this show, 8 to 10 people are going to die from an opiate overdose. If we get even one person, one viewer with this program that we might be able to help with some of the information that's shared on here, then it's all worth it. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dare Me podcast. It's your old pal Glenn Victor. It's the Friendsgiving edition of the Dare Me podcast. Hope you like that little short video clip that we showed right out of the open there. That is Thanksgiving tradition for a lot of people, having that ready whipped cream can, shaking it up and spraying some in your mouth. You know, I did that as a little kid, and my mom would walk in the kitchen and catch me doing that and holler at me. How many other people? I know I'm not the only one. I posted that video just before Thanksgiving. I had a lot of people chime in on that one who could relate. So I hope you got a kick out of that. Anyways, welcome to the Dare Me podcast. We're running just a little bit behind tonight, about an hour late, because our co-host and producer Dean Baker was working one of the largest table tennis tournaments in the world, the Jula tournament. He is live with us tonight from Maryland rather than Orlando, Florida. And we're going to bring him in right now and hear a little bit more about it. Hey, Dean, what's happening, bro? Happy Friendsgiving to you, man.
There we go. I had us muted. I had me muted. Anyway, so yeah, happy Friendsgiving. I see from the whipped cream you're all pumpkin pied out, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, I also want to say hello. I see we got several viewers and listeners already aboard the podcast tonight. So
No
we want to
shit. All
say
right.
hello to everyone. And, you know, I was thinking this is a little unusual, Dean. Usually I'm the one on the road bopping all around the damn
Right.
country. And for a change, we got you on the road on the
It
podcast.
it was pretty. It's been a pretty cool show. We just wrapped, like I said, about an hour ago,
Yeah.
and yeah, big table tennis tournament. I
Well,
want to call it ping pong, but they don't like that. So
yeah. Well, by the way, I stand corrected. I said you were in Maryland. You're actually now in Washington, D.C. But for our
well,
viewers and listeners that don't know, Maryland is like just a hop, skip, and a jump and a stone's throw
I'm
from D.C.
actually I think I'm technically in Maryland. I'm
Oh,
right
okay.
across the river. I'm at the
Yeah, they're all right there.
Gaylord National,
Yeah.
which is the Gaylord in Orlando. It's
Yeah,
almost,
yeah.
yeah, it's just a rubber stamp beautiful hotel. They got the ice
Beautiful.
show and all that stuff. So yeah, I've been here for 3 days, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hey, Dean, as you know, we have been promoting this show, for the last week that we were going to be
Yeah.
taking live callers. And I happen to know that we have a caller on the line that I don't want to keep on hold much longer. And, I talk on this podcast a lot about how we get analytics from YouTube because we are live right now, y'all, on like a half dozen different Facebook pages. We're on LinkedIn. We're live. We're live on X. We're live on Threads. We're live on a half dozen different YouTube channels. And we get these analytics about all the different places that people tune into our podcast from. And our second biggest audience is in the UK. Of course, our biggest is in the States. We get a lot of people from Canada and Latin America. But tonight we have someone on the line from the Middle East in Saudi Arabia, an old friend of ours and a colleague you may remember as well, Dean. That boy Asim is on the line. Can we bring up our call from Asim right now, Dean, and say hello to our
Are you
friend Asim?
there?
Yep, I'm still here, man.
Okay.
Are we going live anytime soon?
We are live right now.
Hey, awesome. Welcome to
Okay,
the
so
Dare
do
Me
I just wait for
podcast.
Glenn
How
to
are
talk
you?
to me, or how does this work, man?
Well, you should hear Glenn. Do you not hear Glenn?
I
Hey,
do not hear
awesome.
Glenn.
Okay, hold on. Glenn, I thought you heard me last time when you talked on the phone.
I hear you just fine.
Hang
I
on.
Hey, y'all, anything can happen live, and we do have
Okay.
Asim on the line. We're just trying to get a
Hold
connection where
that
he can hear
thought.
me too. So we'll get this figured out. Uh,
Um damn. We had this. We tested this. So
yeah.
I'm gonna try it again. Go ahead and talk a little bit. Awesome.
Yep.
Hello.
All right. 1 2 3, 1 2 3, testing. 1 2 3. Can you guys hear me?
I believe he can hear you.
Can you
Glenn,
hear
you
me
can.
now, Asim?
Okay, I cannot hear Glenn. I can
Okay.
just hear you, my friend. I do not hear
Okay,
Glenn
we have
or
one
anything that he's saying.
direction. Okay. I was hoping that wouldn't have been a problem. Let me do something. Glenn, just go ahead and
Yeah,
kick in. Give me
okay.
a
Well,
moment.
hey everyone. Like we said, Dean is actually broadcasting with us live from the road today. So he's not in the usual Dare Me podcast studio live there in Orlando. He's on the road in Washington, D.C., where he was at this weekend to live stream one of the largest table tennis tournaments in the world, the Jula tournament. And so he's actually at the Gaylord Hotel in DC right now, where he just wrapped up live streaming that tournament. And so we got just a couple little technical things that we're trying to work out. We got an old friend of ours on the phone line. And Dean's just trying to work it out where we can all hear each other. We want to say hi to our boy Rob in the chat room. Rob, gobble gobble to you too. He says ping pong. Everyone knows pickleball is the top sport today. Pickleball is real popular right now. I'm not sure why. Just kind of caught on, but it does seem like over the past couple of few months that pickleball seems to be the craze right now. And yeah, so table tennis. We here in the States, I think mostly it's a United States thing, refer to it as ping pong. but in the professional world, if you will, it's referred to a lot more as table tennis. So, Dean, I see you put your headphones back on. Are we
Uh,
hearing awesome yet? Or
I gotta have Awesome kind of try and go through the other link. I
oh,
gotta send
okay,
him a
okay,
link. So he could. He says he's driving right now. So
okay.
he
Well,
says he's
maybe
just gonna
that
have
may
to
have.
get somewhere quick, and then he's going to use the link.
Okay,
So
great, great.
if you
Well,
want to
we'll
just kind of
bring Awesome on shortly. In the meantime, and in between your toes, let's take this opportunity to just go ahead and talk a little bit about the Dare Me podcast, which, by the way, everyone, I wanted to show I am wearing my Gizmo t-shirt because I love Gizmo, first of all, and also because it is the Friendsgiving edition of the Dare Me podcast. I've always thought of, the Thanksgiving holiday weekend to really be like the official kickoff of the holiday season. I mean, I get it. A lot of people think of it as Halloween kind of kicks off the holiday season. And I guess that kind of sort of makes sense. But certainly for the Christmas and New Year's holiday season, that kind of month and a half long period of, transitioning into the new year, for me, it just always kind of kicks off at the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. We all have our family get togethers and all that stuff. And, I am, in fact, into the holiday spirit now. Got some holiday decorations out, put some lights up around the house, that kind of thing. So, I just thought I'd wear my Gizmo T-shirt because I just love that movie Gremlins, and there's always kind of been this ongoing debate about whether Gremlins or the movie Trading Places are holiday movies. Of course they are. They're Christmas movies because they kind of have this theme in them of taking place at Christmas time and around the holidays. So. And I see Rob in the chat room says Christmas at our house too. Got the tree up and the house decorated. I get you, Rob. That's how I feel. So anyway, I actually wear my Gizmo T-shirt at different times throughout the year, but I thought I'd wear it tonight. I definitely decided to wear this shirt specifically for tonight's podcast, kind of, like I said, in the holiday spirit and all. And so, hey, I also want to send a quick shout out just in case. Our friend Captain Tuttle, a big fan of that boy Billy Bob Thornton, who gave us a shout out for the podcast earlier this year. I saw posted something online with Gizmo, a little Gizmo stuffed animal in the Christmas tree. So shout out to Captain Tuttle and Billy Bob Thornton too, by the way, in case you see this, bro. We do appreciate you giving us that shout out for the Dare Me podcast earlier this year. My God, we had like over 2,000 people look at that thing. So that was really cool, of Billy Bob to do that. Speaking of Billy Bob, there's another holiday movie, Bad Santa. That's like a tradition with me and my son G, who says hi to everyone, by the way. I talked to him earlier, but he gets up early for work, so I don't know if he's going to be able to call in tonight. He said he'd try to stay up, but we're running a little late, so he's probably already sleeping by now. But he did want to say hi to everybody. And yeah, Bad Santa, holiday classic. Not necessarily a movie I'd recommend you watch with grandma or your mom or your daughter or whatever. It's a little raunchy, but it's definitely a funny movie if you're open minded to that kind of humor. I just love it. Me and Glenn watch it every year at the holiday season. I'll be going to visit him in Miami. In a couple of weeks here, and I'm sure that's one of the things we'll probably do together. So, anyways, with all that said, yeah, Dean, I appreciate you putting them hashtags up at the top of the screen. Those are the topics we ordinarily try to focus in on this podcast, the Dare Me podcast. If you're a new viewer or listener, because we get new viewers and listeners every single week,
Hi,
and we
good
just
morning, Glenn. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, hey, we got Awesome on the line. Awesome, I hear you just fine. Can you hear me, bro?
I can hear you perfectly well, Glenn. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. And I want to say, hey, thank you, Dean. Once again, you are a rock star, bro. Getting our boy Awesome on the line. We have a live caller, everyone, all the way from Saudi Arabia, an old friend and colleague of ours. Awesome. Thank you so much for calling in, my friend.
Hey, not a problem, man. Always there.
Well, you know what, Awesome? As you know, you and I caught up. We haven't talked in a long time. It's been way too long. And when we caught up just a couple days ago, you said you wanted to call in and talk to us on the podcast. And I had no idea that you had been tuning in and following me. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you sharing with me that this has been an inspiration. And if you could talk to us a little bit more about that, I just really appreciate it, bro. We always look.
Oh, 100%, Glenn. I mean, like, we've known each other for years, and we've worked on a couple of projects for Saudi Aramco and all that. And throughout the years, I've been, apart from friendship, I've been following you on Instagram, and your transformation and you taking care of yourself and getting into shape, and probably the best shape of your life, I think, has been really inspiring. And obviously following your podcast and the positive message that you're sending out there. And just want you to know that your impact is not only limited to that side of the world, but you're having a global impact for me personally. After seeing you getting into shape and working out, I've been pushing myself daily to get to the gym and at least get something in, because that's what it's all about, spreading the positive energy and raising people around you. And that's what you've done for me. So I want to thank you on your podcast. And of course, I want to thank you for sending this positive message out there that you're inspiring people from far, far beyond, man.
Wow, awesome. I just can't thank you enough for all the kind words, bro. And, I just want to mention real quick, you touched on it, Awesome and I have been friends for a long time. And, the name of this podcast is the Dare Podcast with Glenn Victor and friends. And part of the reason that we put that and friends is because I have been so fortunate, so blessed to have met some of the most fascinating people in my life. And certainly you are one of them, Awesome. And I just got to share the way you and I met, as you know, Awesome, is we worked together on bartering a business deal. It certainly was my proudest accomplishment in my business life, and working 25 years for that company I did, the United Safety Council. You and I bartered this arrangement to provide safety training at the largest oil company in the world, Aramco, and we bartered that arrangement like a half dozen times, and it went off every single time without a hitch. The attention to detail in arrangements like that is just it's bizarre how much you really got to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And I don't mean to toot our own horn, but we pulled it off, Awesome. And I'm so proud of that, man. I'm so proud to call you a friend.
Absolutely, man. Spreading the message of safety from beyond borders and using OSHA standards and setting that courses up for Saudi Aramco was a win, not only for the council and for Saudi Aramco, but it was a win in general for safety and the workers, and spreading that positive message of safety and delivering it and planning it through different time zones, like Glenn, you and I did, like Florida time, Saudi time, and moving things and getting it done flawlessly. I believe as well as one of my personal biggest accomplishments. And of course, it was a win. Just like this podcast, we spread a positive message to people in this region and in Saudi Aramco. And you never know, Glenn, how many lives were saved because of these courses, because it's these little things. It's a lot of people think it's a safety course that I have to do, but on the field, when someone remembers something from this course and it saves a life or it saves time and that's what matters. And I think we made a huge impact, not only in terms of safety, but I think the lives of people. And again, I want to thank you and the council for putting that together and for us to successfully accomplishing that here.
Well, you know what, and we probably should say that this safety training we're referring to, y'all, is what's known as the Certified Occupational Safety Specialist course. It's a designation that people can earn in what we'll call workplace safety. And so, awesome! I can't thank you enough for the kind words. Now, I do got to touch on this, and I gotta tell you, man, I'm kind of laughing about it, but it's really not funny. And you and I touched on this the other day that Asim invited me to come to Saudi Arabia on several occasions and really pretty much rolled out the red carpet for me, offering all expenses paid, the whole 9 yards while we were doing these courses over there. And I kept turning them down and making excuses. And as I told you off the air, Awesome, the reason is because at the time I was physically addicted to the opioid pain medications that I had started taking when I broke my ankle and went through the cancer battle and all that stuff. And I just didn't want to take the chance of traveling overseas and into Saudi Arabia with opioid pain medication because it's not legal in all other countries around the world, even if you have a prescription for it. And so as I mentioned, Asim, I feel like I owe you an apology because I wasn't completely open and honest with you about it, and I was making excuses. And so you and I talked about that is a goal I have now, almost like redemption, battling that addiction to come and visit you in Saudi Arabia. And I'm going to do it, bro, one way or another.
And
So I
that red carpet
appreciate
is gonna
it.
be still there, and it's still there, Glenn. And Glenn, just on the topic of addiction, whether it's opioids, cigarettes, fast food, alcohol, anything, addiction is a very potent and it really it's a secret disease that everybody suffers through. I know people who suffer through fast food addiction. I know people who chain smoke. I used to be a chain smoker about 3 years ago, and I know how addiction works. And the only way through addiction is getting support, surrounding yourself with friends who give you support, who
Yes.
listen to you, and taking the small steps. And Glenn, again, you're an example of how you rose like a phoenix from the ashes, and you look better, you sound better, you're healthier, and you've got a more positive life. And I wish that for everybody, whatever addiction they're suffering from, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's opioids, whether it's fast food, alcohol. I want to send a message out to everybody that, stepping out and taking the first step is hard, but
Mm,
trust me, it is worth it. It is worth it for your family, your friends,
yes.
and it is worth it. And life is short. You have to take the hard steps to improve it. And trust me, the results at the end are worth the wait and the struggle. It's just like going to the gym, You go to the
Yeah.
gym one day, and then you go the second day and the third day, and by after 30 days you see the results, and then after 3 months you see the results, and then after 5 months you're a completely different person. You're healthier, you're eating better, you're living better, you're sleeping better, and that's what it takes. It takes a small step. So message to people out there who are listening: surround yourself with people who love you, get the support, get the help you need. People like Glenn are out there. There are organizations that are out there that are there to help you, and we can only do this together.
Well, awesome. Oh my God, what a powerful message. And by the way, for all our viewers and listeners, I just want to mention again, because a lot of people jump on a little bit into the podcast. If you're just joining us, we have our friend Asim on the line, live from Saudi Arabia. I'm, of course, coming to you live from Sacramento, California. We have our co host and producer, Dean Baker, live in Washington, D.C. We have Rob in the chat room live in Orlando, Florida. We have Eric live in the chat room from Brooklyn, Michigan. So we are literally nationwide and worldwide. And I just can't thank you enough for that positive message, Awesome. Now, as I mentioned, bro, you're there in Saudi Arabia. Just to give us kind of a general idea, are you like near Riyadh right now? Just
No,
to
I'm
give us a
I'm near the
visual.
eastern province, which is near Bahrain. Riyadh is the central province, so I'm in the eastern province where mostly Saudi Aramco is based, and that's
Okay.
where I'm there.
Okay. And if I could, Asim, and we don't want to hold you, too long on the line. I know you're on the road, but I just thought it'd be interesting for our viewers and listeners to hear something we just talked about briefly the other day, because I talk a lot on this podcast about how this opioid crisis is not something unique to just the United States. We talk about how it's such a problem in Canada, the UK, we did a story on Ireland, Greece, Mexico. And so I know it's a little bit different in some of the Middle Eastern countries. Like, for example, in Saudi Arabia, alcohol isn't even legal. And so
Correct.
it's not quite the problem in Saudi Arabia with the opioid crisis as it is in other places around the world. Is that correct?
That is correct, Glenn. But again, Glenn, just to emphasize, every region, every place has people who struggle with things. In this part of the world, there's fast food, there's cigarettes,
Yes.
and in North America, there's opioids and all that. So everybody's suffering through some kind of addiction.
Yes.
It's prevalent. Anything in access will destroy you.
Yes.
But
Well, I appreciate that input. Well, hey, awesome. I gotta share something with you, and then we'll let you go, bro. I really don't want to hold you up too long because I know you're on the road, and I'm just gonna
absolutely
be honest. This is a little bit of a confession again, and I want to see if you'll
Uh-oh.
remember this. You were in Orlando visiting when I was still living there, and you and
right,
I and another colleague of ours, Bushan, went out to
right,
eat. And we
correct,
went out to a Thai restaurant where we all had some real spicy food.
right,
Well, at the time, I was in full blown addiction to the opioid pain medication, but I was still hiding it from everyone. At least I thought I was, to the best of my ability. Well, one of the days you were there, I was out of pills, but I had business with you and Bouchon and some others that I like had to show up for and I had to take care of. And when
right,
you don't have that stuff, you go into full blown withdrawals within 24 hours. And one of the horrible, horrible side effects is your body temperature. You just can't regulate it and you literally go into the cold sweats. And
right.
so we were out for dinner one night and I'm sweating like hell. And I could tell you guys were kind of looking at me like, boy, Glenn seems a little out of sorts tonight. And I used the hot, spicy Thai food as an excuse, like, boy, I
I
think I got
remember
my
that
food
now.
a little too
Yes,
spicy. You do remember that, eh?
yes. You went on to the spices, and even I was like, man, why is Glenn chopping down the spices? And you were sweating and you were red. But I'm sorry, I did not know at the time, Glenn. I wish I knew, and I would have extended any kind of support that I could have. But I'm so proud of you that you've come out of that. You've come on top, and you've set an example for millions of people out there who are
Oh,
suffering from this kind of addiction. And you're an inspiration, man. And keep doing what you're doing. You're changing lives, brother.
well,
And this
awesome.
is
Oh, thank you so much for saying that, bro. And yeah, I appreciate your understanding, and I'm glad we can have a sense of humor about it now. And I know that had I reached out at the time, that's what's so bizarre about addiction. It's one of those sicknesses that tells you you don't even have it, and that
that's
there's
right.
some kind of shame or stigma involved in it. And that's not the case at all. And people are
Absolutely.
always more than willing to help. And so I appreciate your message tonight that if someone is struggling, I know we have a friend in the chat, Eric, who's been very open with us on this show. And welcome again to the Dear Me podcast, Eric. He's been with us for a few weeks now, Awesome. And he shared openly with us on here that he's still struggling. He's still trying to kick the opiates. So, Eric, if you can take this message from one of our friends all the way over on the other side of the world in the Middle East saying, reach out for help, bro. Do what you got to do to get
And
clean.
don't be ashamed. It's nothing to be
Yeah.
ashamed about. We're all humans. We make mistakes. And the best part is a human spirit is very resilient. We
Yes.
can take on anything and we can come on top of everything. And again, I would like to emphasize how, Glenn, you've inspired, even whether it's kicking the opioid habit or getting into shape, you're a huge inspiration. You can do it. Everybody can do it. And just want to leave it on that positive note. But reach out. Don't fight it alone. You can't do it alone. You need help. And there's a lot of help out there.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, bro. And again, we won't hold you much longer. Like you said, we'll leave it on that positive note, bro. And I really do hope to have you back on the show again, maybe a little bit down the road. Okay. And
Oh,
God bless
absolutely. You
you.
guys take care. God bless you and everybody there. And again, guys, remember to reach out. You're not in this alone. Reach out. And thank you, Glenn, for this positive message. I
Oh,
really appreciate this.
thank you, awesome. We'll talk soon, bro. Peace.
Cheers.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Peace.
All right.
Cheers.
Wow, how cool is that, Dean? We had
Yeah.
Awesome on the line all the way from over in the Middle East in Saudi Arabia. What a great person.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
You remember Awesome, don't you, Dean?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
His voice. I remember his voice.
Yeah. Well,
I-
Dean and I, if you're a new viewer, listener to the podcast, Dean and I have worked together on different projects for years. And one of the things we used to do was a big awards banquet we did for the workplace safety programs. And Awesome would literally fly all the way to Central Florida from Saudi Arabia to attend those events with us. And he is just such a wonderful person, as I'm sure you can tell by listening to him on that call. So we want to thank Awesome for calling in. And Dean, if we could, let's go ahead and put that telephone number up on the screen because
Well, what I'd like to do is see if,
Yeah.
because it works the same way, and that's how Awesome got to log in.
Okay.
Is I posted the screen the StreamYard link in the chat, and I can do it
Okay.
again.
Well,
So
let's do it that way then. We just want to
yeah,
encourage
and
anybody
they
who
don't have to
might.
use their camera. They don't have to use their camera, but if they're calling in, use a microphone. So you just shut your camera off, just like Awesome did. He
You know
Yeah, so
what?
I'll post a link again in the chat. It should still
Okay.
be there, and it should be on all platforms because
Okay, and so what? Somebody just goes in there and clicks the link. Is that it?
click the link, and yep, it just went out on the Facebook and the
Okay, well,
YouTube and all that stuff. so.
I will say, I know we have some technically challenged viewers and listeners who may
Yeah.
not want to do that. So if
Ah.
we might be able to, maybe we'll post the telephone number too. And if anybody
could-
would like to
we could-
call in,
Glenn, we could try it, but you could also have them call. Here's. I'm going to spend like 20 seconds on this.
okay, go ahead.
For some reason, the cable that I've got my phone connected to the mixer isn't going in both directions.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's
then we
why
don't
I
wanna
had
do
you
that.
call me.
That's right,
So
you're out of town.
here's what you could do. You could have them call your phone directly, keep your phone right in front of the microphone, and put it on speaker. So all
Yeah,
you'd
I
have
don't
to
wanna do
do,
that.
well, then there you
Really
go.
don't
I
want to do
I
that.
could do it, but then I have to change some things
No,
around
that's
on my.
okay. Hey, like I say many times on this podcast, y'all, anything can happen live, and we are literally almost kind of like flying by the seat of our pants here, just doing this on the fly. So, yeah, if you want to chime in live
Well,
tonight, you got to go in the chat room and click the
well,
link,
yeah,
and
click
then
the
as
link and Well, see,
And
they're only gonna they'll see the link if they're already in the chat room. So
yeah,
it's a
I'm
moot
just saying,
point.
I know for
Yeah.
some of our older viewers and listeners, they're going to be like, I ain't doing that,
Click the
And
link.
then you were saying turn the camera off. People ain't going to know how to do that, but it's all good. I don't even
I
give a
think you
fuck. It don't
seriously
matter, man. Let me
overestimate
just go
the.
ahead and shift gears and say hi to some of the other people. I see we have Phil in the chat room, says,
Yeah.
yo, welcome, Phil, to the Dare Me podcast. Once again, we got Rob chiming in tonight. We got Eric in there, and we want to thank our friend Awesome again for
Let's see if
calling
Eric
in.
wants to click on the link and call in and talk to
Yeah,
us.
Eric, why don't you give us a call? We always talk to you in the chat room, and
Yeah.
we'd love to talk to you on the telephone, Eric. So walk us
Well,
through
it's
this, Dean.
StreamYard. It's
Just
just clicking
explain
the
it.
link. It's just
Just
click the
explain it. Well, for
in the
somebody who,
chats.
hey,
Yeah.
listen, let me ask you this question. For somebody who wants to call in but doesn't want to be on camera, walk us through that. How does that work?
Well, it's going to say, it's going to ask you on the device you're on, would you like to allow access to your phone and, your microphone and your camera? And you just say, well, no. It's different on every device, a little bit different, but it will ask you if you want to have access to your camera. And you can turn that off. It's just a click. You click a button on your device, whatever. Could be on your laptop, it could be on your whatever. But by calling in, you definitely don't want to be listening to the stream on YouTube or Facebook while you're calling in because that's a delay.
Then we'll get
And
feedback.
that, you'll be listening to us on YouTube, and then we're talking to you, and you won't hear us for 20 seconds. So, so you definitely want to make sure if you click the link, you silence your YouTube and your or Facebook or whatever that you happen to be kind of watching us on. So that's it. It's not that complicated, and
Okay,
and I'm
so let
here
me
if
recap. Let me be what they call an active listener.
okay.
Active listening involves repeating to the person what they just said so you can
Uh-oh.
clarify that you heard it correctly. So if I heard you correctly, Dean,
Uh-oh.
people can click the link in the chat room, and when they do, some type of prompt will come up on their telephone asking them if they'd like to allow access to the camera. If you want to be on camera, we'd love to have you on camera. Click OK. If you don't want to be on camera, but you just want to kind of yak with us on the phone, you click no.
Well,
But then Dean would be notified where he's kind of coordinating everything there in DC that you're trying to get through to us and bring you on the air. Is that a good way to describe it, Dean?
close enough. And if there's any problems, just just put something in the chats here and I'll see it and we'll
Okay.
figure it out.
Well, in the meantime and in between time, we'd love to have you on camera. Just click that link. We'll bring you right on camera. We want to get that
Yeah.
boy Rob or Phil on here, man, because Eric said in the chat room, he said, maybe next Sunday, y'all. He's a little
Okay.
shy. Well, that's okay, Eric. We'd love to have you on. He says, but I know how to do it. Maybe next Sunday, I would love to join you guys for a bit. So there you go. All right. Well, hey, Eric, I hope you stick with us the rest of
Yeah,
the
that'd be
week. Leave it in
great.
the chat, and maybe we can bring you on, either on the phone or on camera next Sunday. And so, like I was saying earlier, y'all, this is definitely an unusual edition of the Dare Me podcast, but we're going with it anyway, man. We were real tempted to just play a rerun of a previous episode tonight because number one, it's a holiday weekend. Number two, Dean is out of town. And I just thought, you know what? Let's go with it anyways. We have not missed one single Sunday yet since we started this podcast all the way back on March 12th. We haven't missed one Sunday. We haven't taken one off. And so we just said, what the hell? Let's go with it. And like I said, kind of sort of fly by the seat of our pants. Dean is coming to us live, by the way, from Washington, D.C. In case you're just joining us, Dean is in that area because he was live streaming table tennis tournament, the North American table tennis tournament, one of the largest table tennis tournaments in the entire world. And he's there in that area because, and by the way, Dean, I heard I was watching that for a while, bro. They were giving you and your team big props for the stream you were doing for them, man. That must have been exciting watching that thing, eh?
Yeah, it was.
Well, we call it ping pong here in the States, but around the world, man, they take that shit serious. It's like a big deal in China, man. They really take it serious over there.
let's let's
So,
let's I'm gonna show you a little taste here.
oh, okay, let's
I'm gonna
let's give
show
it
you
a
a little
look.
taste. Let's just gonna go to the Chrome tab and share and boom.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the very last couple of that's the finals right there. That was earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, they call it. It's
Round table
sponsored
depth
by
and
this
spin.
Jula agency.
Does
It's
the
okay.
break
The
gives
J
the
is
game
silent.
point.
It's Eula, but yes.
Jula. Okay.
And they make the little
Learn something new every
paddles.
day.
They make the
And a
paddles and they
backhand
make all
flip, and
kinds
he
of stuff.
switches the ball across
Wow.
his.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
It's just amazing. I mean, hey, I've had a ping pong table in my house, on and off over the years. Me and my son G would play all the time. But man, I watch some of these guys play. It's like they're totally out of my league, man. Totally out of my league.
remember watching the movie Forrest Gump, which is probably
Yeah.
also a Christmas movie. I don't think so, but anyway, when for there Tom Hanks is playing ping pong or table tennis, and of course you think, oh, that can't be real, and it's like, man, it's faster than that. It's even faster than that. So it's
Yeah.
crazy, but yeah, not
Yeah.
that Tom Hanks was actually playing, but it's these guys were really good. We saw some crazy, yeah.
Yeah, well,
So anyway,
very cool. So, just out of curiosity, Dean, when are you headed back to Central Florida from DC? Are you hitting the road again
oh,
tomorrow, or?
yeah, I'll be back in Orlando tomorrow.
Okay, very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Well, hey, once again, if you may be tuning in and just joining us here on the Dare Me podcast, we never really did get into the whole purpose of this podcast because we didn't want to, keep our friend Awesome, who called in live from Saudi Arabia a little bit earlier on the program. We touched on it a little bit, but we never really went into very much detail about what this podcast is all about, which we try to do every week and talk a little bit about because we get new viewers, new listeners every week because we're live on all these different social media platforms. A lot of times people will just be scrolling and see we're live and click on it. So, what's this Dare Me podcast all about? And, if you're new to the program, welcome. Peace. We're glad you're here with us. We hope you enjoy the content. This Dare Me podcast is all about those topics right at the top of the screen there, those hashtags: drugs, addiction, recovery, enlightenment, music, exercise, which, if you look closely, those are all the letters in the name Dare Me. And we took those letters and made those hashtags out of them. And the name Dare Me kind of sort of came out of me coming out of the closet with my addiction, if you will, on this podcast and recovering out loud, as we say, and trying to do what we can to, combat that stigma that seems to still be attached to this whole topic of addiction, and as Awesome, I was so glad to take that call from him, said, there's no need for it anymore. It's like, if struggling with addiction is a worldwide problem. This is something that no need to have any shame about. I say it on this podcast all the time. I do not know one single family that hasn't been affected by this whole addiction sickness in one way or another. And so, anyway, my story is, y'all, that I have struggled with addiction my whole life. Started partying as a young guy, 12, 13 years old, smoking weed, drinking, doing all the other crazy shit that came along, and I did that shit for years, well into my 20s. Then I got caught up in the whole cocaine craze in the 80s, and oh my God, that was horrible. And I ended up getting clean at just before I turned 25, and I stayed clean for almost 17 years. And I mean 100% drug free, alcohol free, whatever you want to call it. I mean, alcohol is a drug. I was going to talk about that a little bit in detail at some point. We'll touch on it later. But yeah, man, lived 100% clean for almost 17 years, had a bad relapse that lasted for several years, got clean again, stayed clean for like 6 years. And then I broke my ankle and I got sick. I had cancer. I'm cancer free again now. But anyway, the point I'm making is I got hooked on opioid pain medication that was prescribed to me. I had no business taking that shit. I never should have with my history of addiction, but I fucking never fucked with opioids before opiates. I feel so naive, even stupid now, that I should have known better. But I did. I started taking that shit, y'all. I think I justified it because I did have cancer and I did break my ankle and they prescribed it. So I started taking it and oh boy, did it work. Man, did it work. And it makes you feel great. You get this euphoric feeling like, this, exaggerated sense of well being is a good way that I've heard it described once. And it works great until it doesn't anymore, as that saying goes. Eventually, it turns on you. And certainly that's what happened with me. And then I had to take it because I literally became physically dependent on it, addicted, as we say. And if I didn't take it, I got sick. I got dope sick, kind of like I just described briefly in that telephone call we had from Awesome. We took a live call, if you're just joining us, from a friend of ours all the way over in Saudi Arabia who was talking to us about our podcast. We do get out there, y'all, worldwide. It just blows my mind when we look at some of the analytics we get from platforms like YouTube, where a lot of our viewers and listeners come from. So, hey, hello to everyone who's tuned in live right now, as well as people that come across the recorded version. Because after we go live, we post the recorded version on all the platforms. So, yeah, in any case, y'all, that's what the podcast is all about, is just talking openly about this sickness of addiction. And, what I, as well as a lot of our viewers and listeners who chime into the podcast often share as well, have done to get well again. We talk about the drugs and how we became addicted and then how we recovered. And, we like to talk about enlightenment. We need to talk a little bit more about that topic on this podcast soon again. We certainly have on many episodes and editions of this show. It has been a little while. We like to talk about enlightenment and spirituality because that is one of the things that, let's face it, can help to bring all of us peace in our lives. And what comes to this sickness of addiction, one thing I've certainly learned is that, yeah, man, you got to have some peace in your life, because if you don't have peace, you get a case of what is commonly referred to around, the 12-step programs, if you will, as a case of the fuckets, where you just get angry, frustrated, depressed, agitated, whatever you want to call it. And you just get a case of the fuckets, say, fuck this staying clean shit. I can't take this. And you just go out and get high. And then you're right back into that vicious cycle of using on a daily basis. And it's so dangerous now with everything out there like the fentanyl and the xylazine and every other goddamn thing under the sun that we've talked about on this podcast. So, yeah, we like to talk about enlightenment. And then we certainly talk a lot about music. If you go back and look at, some of the other episodes, by the way, this is episode 37 of the Dare Me podcast, which is just crazy to me that we've done that many episodes, but we have. And over the course of those shows, many of them, y'all, we did quite a bit of a deep dive into music. We talk a lot about music on this show because it's so powerful in helping to heal from addiction. That whole music therapy thing, it's real, y'all. Real, proven scientific brainwave scans and all that other stuff, that when we listen to certain types of music, it generates dopamine in the brain and endorphins and helps us to feel better, calm, relaxed, excited, happy, whatever you want to call it, you know. And, I don't want to go too far into my whole journey with music, but like most people, it's been a huge part of my life, my whole life. And we do talk a lot about music on this podcast. And then certainly we talk a lot about exercise. And I appreciate Awesome touching on that, how he follows my journey with the podcast and my social media. And yeah, I'm one of them guys, folks, who posts his check-ins at the gym all the time. I have really cut down on it a lot lately because I know for some people it probably gets irritating. Like, oh, fucking Glenn checking into the gym again. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we know, Glenn. We know you're going to the gym. You don't have to put it out there every time. But, as I've said before, there's a lot of people that I'm friends with on social media, and we do it, we check in, and it's almost like a motivation to each other because we always like each other's shit, and it's almost like, you still doing that shit, bro? Yup, there I am. Oh, hey, we want to say hi to another friend of ours who's been a guest on this show many times. Shivang is in the chat room and he says, what's the call in number? So, hey, Dean, I think Shivang is listening in. Would you walk him through how to call in again? Shivang, if you're listening, bro, Dean is live in Washington, D.C. tonight, so we don't have the usual phone setup. I guess you got to click the link in the chat room, and then we'll bring you on that way. Is that the best way to describe it, Dean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And
so
you don't have to, you can just leave your camera off if you don't want to be on camera, but we'd love
yeah.
to have you, at
Shebang,
least
it's
on.
up to you, bro. If you want to be on camera, just click the link. Dean will be notified and we'll bring you on camera. If you just want to be on the phone, you get the idea. So hopefully we'll get Shebang on the program here live in just a moment. But anyways, y'all, so yeah, that was the brief rundown and recap of the Dare Me podcast and what it's all about. Again, we jump around on all those different
Nope.
topics at the top of the screen from show to show to show. And hey, it looks like we got our friend Shebang. Hey, happy Friendsgiving, Shebang.
Happy
Welcome to the Dare
Friendsgiving,
Me Pod.
man.
Yeah,
How's it
I,
going?
I should say welcome
Yep.
back
Hang
to the
on.
Dare
I'm
Me
getting there.
podcast because you've been on the show a few times in the past, but it's been a minute, man. How you doing, bro?
Appreciate y'all having me, man. I'm doing good, man. Just ended
Yeah,
up Thanksgiving break, kind of just winding down, so getting ready for school tomorrow, and just
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you saying. I was going to say Thanksgiving break because we've missed you, man. But I know that you've been busy as hell with school. You're taking a full time load out there at Wayne State University, right?
Yes, sir. Shout out Warriors, man. Shout out Wayne State Warriors. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got about 13 credits, man, and yeah, most of my courses going by smoothly. I just got this one physics course that I'm kind of struggling in, so I might have to find me a little tutor or something, That's what's been on my mind, so.
Yeah. Well, hey, bro, I don't want to sound condescending, but I'm going to say it anyways, man. I'm so proud of you, bro. I really am because,
Appreciate it, man.
I know you don't mind me sharing this, but we have a similar story. It's like when I was a younger man, I went to school at Eastern Michigan University. That's where I grew up, y'all, in the Midwest in that area, which, by the way, shout out U of them. Beat them boys from Ohio State yesterday, man. I was watching that game. I will tell you, Shivang, I was feeling a little bit homesick because,
Mm.
I lived in Ann Arbor, man, when I was going to school out there, and I've been to the big house, and I know what kind of party is
Oh
going
yeah.
on when they beat Ohio State. But anyways, yeah, man, I was feeling a little bit homesick watching that game. But the point I'm making is our similar story is, I was going to Eastern and I got all caught up in the party life, the fraternity life. And after a couple of years, man, my grades suffered so bad, I ended up dropping out, reapplied, got back in, got kicked out, Then I ended up going to Washtenaw Community College, Henry Ford Community College, and then I got clean and I worked my way all the way back, man, brought my grades up, got back into Eastern, which was, unbelievable to me that they even accepted me back. But I reapplied. I had to do an interview. I explained to them I was clean. I got reference letters and all that, and they let me back in, and I ended up graduating. And it took me 11 years, y'all, 11 years. But I got my motherfucking bachelor's degree, and I will tell you, bro, I was a little older than most of the people in that auditorium that day because it took me that long. But I will say, man, I don't think there was one single person in that auditorium that was happier than me when I
Mm.
walked across that stage and got that fucking degree, and I like snatched it out of their hand like, give it to 'em.
Give me
Maybe
that
my
shit.
mom, who was there,
11 years.
she might have been happier than me to see me do it, but I was so happy, bro. And so I know you went to state, bro, Michigan
Yes.
State, and now you're over at Wayne State. And so we have a similar story. And so I
Yes.
meant what I said. I'm just so proud of you, man, that you're right back in there doing that thing.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's been like you said, we had a similar course of events. I started at Wayne State and then I transferred to Michigan State, went there for 3 years, got caught up in all the partying and BS, kind of like Glenn was
Feel you.
saying, went on academic probation, got kicked out of Michigan State, and then had to really take a couple years to just get my mind right, just get my mind and my spirit in the right place and slowly worked my way back into school. When I first restarted again, I didn't start with like 15 credits off rip. I just started with a class or two here and there and kind of got myself back in that mentality. And yeah, back at a full load now, man. And like you said, I'm looking forward to graduating because it's gonna be probably, I want to say 7 or 8 years for me to get my degree, but yeah, I'm gonna be grateful, man. I know when I get up on stage, I'm gonna be a grateful motherfucker up there, like
Yeah.
usual.
Well, you know what? When I was struggling, man, I just that was for some weird reason, it was just one of them things that I did not want to throw the towel in on and just walk away. So I kept chipping away at it, man. Like, I went from going full time where I'd take a semester off and then I'd go one class, take a semester off, two classes, one class, two classes, one class, take a semester off, one class. And I just kept chipping away. And as the years went by, then them last couple years, I
Mhm.
was so close. I was like, fuck this.
I
I'm
gotta
this
get it
close.
done.
I'm going full time, man. And,
Yeah.
it's just amazing because I still have my transcripts and you can just look at my transcript and you can tell the party years compared to the clean years because,
Yeah.
have fucking F's. And then, I don't mind saying this, bro. This ain't no ego. I'm just proud to be able to say it. And it goes to show how living clean makes a difference. That last semester, bro, I got straight A's, straight
Mm.
fucking A's. You know, they say that about addicts, man. We
Oh
are
yeah.
the smartest people in the world.
Yup.
So you gotta be to, be
Oh
able to
yeah. You gotta be to get
maintain.
your way around, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's like
Well,
you put
hey,
your energy into something
yeah, let me
positive.
yeah, I appreciate it, bro. And keep us posted. And when the graduation comes along, man, I'm
Oh,
coming to fly
dude.
to Detroit to be there, bro, and
Definitely.
help celebrate with you,
100%.
But I want to shift topics with you, bro, and let's talk about music a little
Yes,
bit
sir.
because
What's up?
as I've shared on this podcast, y'all, shebang is the one. And I'm so glad you called in today, bro. It's so good to talk to you and see. I've
Dude,
missed
I
you, man.
almost forgot to, like, and then I saw the clock because I was, playing a little bit of Xbox, and I was like, fuck, it's 10:20, man. I told Glenn I'd call in at
Yeah.
9:20. So I was like, let me see if the podcast is still going on. And I hopped on and
Yeah, well,
got to
I'm
catch
glad
y'all.
you did. But man, as we've talked about on this podcast before, bro, you are the one that motivated me. And let's face it, man, just kind of, thank God, like took me by the hand and said, "Hey, Glenn, check this music production thing out, man. Check out Logic, check out Auto Tune. Matter of fact, my brother's got a studio set up. He's a music guy. Why don't you come over, man, and lay some
Mm,
shit down?" And I did. And
mm.
now I'm like fucking hooked, man. And it's like, I gotta be honest, I've been slacking a little bit lately. I haven't been doing it as much as I want to, and I have, but man, it has truly been, like I was saying, I was talking about, the topics of the show and all. It has been truly a lifesaver for me, man, giving me something to, indulge my passion,
Mm.
help me, maintain some peace and happiness in my life, and helps me to stay clean. So I appreciate it, bro. But
Oh,
anyway,
dude.
how about you? Have you been doing any new music?
Man, I've been in the same
Slacking?
boat as you, man. From the last time we talked, I've kind of been slacking, but I think when we talked last time, bro, like I kind of shared with you how I've shifted my mindset a little bit where instead of looking at it as slacking, I'm just looking at it, I call it collecting evidence.
Yeah,
Obviously you need shit to talk about in your music, right? If you're going to make music with
good point.
vocals in it. And how I look at it is anytime I'm not in the studio, when I'm living my life, I'm just collecting evidence for the studio.
I'm glad you said that, bro, because I gotta be careful what I say to myself.
Mm,
That whole self-talk thing. There's that old saying, man, if I talk to other people the way I
mm,
talk to myself sometimes, I wouldn't have any damn friends. And it's like it's so easy to say that I've been slacking on it when technically and realistically, no, I haven't necessarily been slacking. I just been busy with other stuff,
yeah.
and it's all about balance sometimes, trying to find that balance in my routine. And it's just that I've been devoting more time to other things in the past couple of months than music. And now when that happens and you get out of balance a little bit, man, you realize you start to miss some of the things that,
Mm,
have been such a positive impact. But I like the way you put it, collecting evidence, man,
mm,
so that's a good way to put it. Well, hey, I gotta ask how your brother Shu is doing, because me and him follow each other on social media, and he's been another huge influence on me when it comes to music. And just a friendly reminder to our viewers and listeners, man, Shu is Shivang's brother, and he's part of this group called Rare Hearted. And we did a deep dive interview with them
mm,
on the show, played a bunch of their music clips. I don't know, about a half dozen or more episodes ago. It was called Live from Detroit, or Detroit versus Everybody, whatever episode it was. If you go to the Dare Me Podcast YouTube channel, click on the videos tab, look through it, you'll see them. And man, he's such a great guy. And I know he just put out a new song called Dance in the Rain, and it got such a great reception. They even did a video to it. So we got to get him back on. But anyway, how's your brother doing, bro?
yeah, he's been good, man. My brother, I think I told you, Glenn. I mean, I don't know if the podcast knows, but he actually, we used to live in a joint household. He used to live at our parents' house with me, where I stay at now. But he actually just moved out and got his own apartment with another buddy of his, Cart, who's also a big producer, K Stone.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, I know
yeah,
Cart.
they
Yeah.
got an apartment and they turned the whole thing into a studio. So he's been kind of just busy just with clients and mixing and mastering. And yeah, man, I'm just waiting, man, because I just know it's just a matter of time before I get that fucking call like, hey, man, I'm going on tour, like, let's get it,
Yeah.
so
Well, I get it, bro, because them guys all in that group, Rare-Hearted, are all so talented individually, but when they come together as a group, it like takes them each to the next level when they work collaboratively,
mm.
So I get it, bro. And as I told them when we had them on the podcast, when they do go on tour, I'll be the first one in line to get a ticket to one of them shows, man.
Oh man, they got you on backstage passes, everything, man. You on the tour bus with them, man.
VIP, yeah,
Yes,
for real,
sir.
for real.
Yep,
Well,
yep.
hey, I gotta mention, Shebang, I don't know if you caught it or not, but we actually were talking about you and did a shout out to you on last week's podcast,
I
because
didn't.
we had a guest on, that boy Soldani, who you met at the Future of Artists Summit that we went to together. And
Okay.
if you remember, I took a video of you and our friend Brendan YHB, who
Yes,
we were
sir.
all there together. If you remember,
Yep.
when Kasky was listening to your music over the phone, and I showed
Mm.
that video last week.
Yep. Yep. Oh man, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I haven't got
Yeah,
a chance yet to tune into last week's episode, but
yeah, you got to go back and watch it, bro, because
cool,
we had
man.
you on. And
Glenn, we probably still have that video
oh, do we?
on last week's. Is
Yeah.
it the shout out from Cass Anonymous? Anonymous?
Yeah,
Is
well,
it that
here,
one?
let's see. Let me go in here and look. We'll
Let's
try
do
to play
that.
it for you.
There it is,
Shebang.
listening to Shebang. Kasky
Yeah, let's
listening
go
to
ahead and
Shebang.
play it. Check it out, Shebang. There go Cat. He listening to your stuff. There you go. There you go. That's right. There go Kasky listening to Shebang stuff here at the conference, man. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Brendan, you got to make sure he gets your stuff too, bro.
I'm already hit.
Fuck yeah.
You got that rock star shit.
Didn't I tell you he was the shit? I told you, bro.
It's easy to follow, bro.
Shebang, I could see you were talking during the video. We couldn't hear you during the video. What were you
Yeah, I
saying?
was saying, man, that video just took me back, man. I felt like it was yesterday. I just remember there was a whole line formed up because everybody wanted to show Kasky their music, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man.
you know, that'll be a year ago, the weekend of December 10th. So it's almost a
Wow.
year ago.
That's crazy, man. Time
Yeah.
flies.
Yeah, but well, how cool was that event though? Wasn't that a fun
Dude,
event?
that was something else, man. You know, I feel like we just live in a time, man, that like something like that wouldn't have happened 30 years ago. You know,
Oh,
I
no
feel like it
way.
wouldn't have been possible, but with like social media and
Yeah.
technology, like they completely just changed like the course of hip hop, I feel
Yeah,
like,
I mean, God,
with
not
something
even
like
like
this.
10 years ago, let alone 20 or 30. You're
Right.
right, man. You know, I'm glad you said that, Shebang, because I've thought about that and said it myself. You know, had some of the big name artists, like when I was around 20, 25, 30, like a lot of the people there were, you know, a little younger than you and I even, you know, had some of the big name artists done it when I was that age, it might have changed my whole fucking
Oh
trajectory,
yeah.
but it's like it was like back in them days, even as Kasky and Anonymous have said, man, it was different. The record labels, they held the lock and key to everything and played that shit close. And now, like you said, bro, with social media and everything else,
Yeah.
it's changed the game, man.
Yeah.
And I will say, Anonymous and Kasky, man, they've created this lane of trying to help and encourage young artists, man, to get their stuff out there. And I just love it. I think
Yeah.
it's a great
It's
event.
awesome, man. You know, I think they really opened my eyes up, man, because I feel like that was one of the first times I had the experience where I had, you know, an artist, somebody I look up to, but I felt like, okay, this person is a human being just like me. They eat,
Yeah.
sleep, shit just like me, you know? And I feel like for a lot of times, you know, when you're growing up, you got all these superheroes, right? Whether they're a rapper or a musician or whatever, and you look up to them and you almost think of them in like a superhero sense, like, oh my God, like they're like
Yeah.
God's son, you know, or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
like,
You get starstruck. Yeah.
right. But that, I feel like that conference made me realize, like, wow, dude, this is just another human being, just like
Yo.
me, man, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm grateful, man. You know, that was a great experience, you know?
Yeah, well, you know what? You just reminded me of something that, you know, I talked with Kasky about while I was there, man. We were all bullshitting, if you remember, at that VIP dinner. And I was like, bro, man, meeting you here now like this, you know, like you were
So
just
down to
saying, man,
earth.
it's just, and of course, I had met him before and stuff, but it was like, bro, I've got to get to a place where I got to separate the person from the
Mm,
music because I don't want to be here all fangirling and standing over you and freak you out when you're just another guy being cool, man, and trying to share, some inspiration with everybody. And he made me feel so good because he said, you know what, Glenn, he goes, I'm the same way. He goes, I've felt the same way with some of the big stars I've met because
yeah,
let's face it, man, he's met some big names. He was signed
yeah,
by Birdman,
Young
met
Money
Wayne, and
shit.
all them people. So, I mean, can you imagine at a young age? Because he was signed when he was like 16 years old.
That's
And man,
crazy, man.
when
I
he,
can't even imagine putting myself in the shoes, being 16 and getting a fucking call from Birdman,
I
like, "Hey,
know,
I'm about to
fucking
fly you out and
bizarre.
open a lane for you, man." Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, hey, Dean, I appreciate you bringing that clip up, bro. That was pretty cool.
That was
That was
awesome.
totally unexpected, Shebang. I didn't know we'd have
We got
that
to get
interview,
that
but
boy YHB on here one time, man. I
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
spoken
we
with
do.
him in a
We got to
minute.
get them on because, as you know, I've had some other people from the summit. We had that boy Dustin Warbear,
Dustin,
shout
yeah,
out
shout
Warbear on
out.
the program, who created our logo, by the way. We've had Soldani on. We've had Ace Wild on the phone on the show, of course, yourself. So, yeah, we got to get YHB on here. I know he's been busy, man. He took that job at that studio in Orlando where he's working as an engineer now.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah, I
see.
think you were telling me about that.
Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah,
still
man.
doing music too. He puts some
That's
stuff
awesome.
out
I'm
there.
glad. I'm just glad he's doing what he loves, man, because I
Yeah,
remember, when not to get too deep into his shit, that's his story. I mean, I'll save it for him, but I remember
yeah,
he was like working at Disney World and he was using
yeah.
that money to go get studio
Starbucks.
time and yeah, and now to be able to get a job where he's doing what he loves and still get paid at it, man, I feel like that's living the dream right there in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing that grew out of that conference, man, I think that, what went on there motivated so many people to do different things that they don't even realize. Just like, as you know, you and I had talked about it a lot leading up to that conference about, me starting this podcast. So it was already in the incubator. But
Mm.
coming out of that conference, it gave me the motivation to be like, okay, it's time to fucking get off the pot and this thing started. And I did, it was just a couple months after. So I often say, man, that thing gave me the motivation for this,
Yeah,
But
yeah, man, it's
anyway,
amazing.
I guess they're already planning the next one is gonna
Really?
be in June, is what
Wow.
I've heard. So
Interesting. Interesting.
come
Keep me
June,
up to
man.
date, man.
Yeah, we got to get back down to Orlando. Dean, we're gonna come bunk with you in June when they have the. No, I'm just
I'm
playing,
just letting
bro.
you know Glenn snores real loud, so
Yeah, no, no.
Okay, well,
Well, last time they did
we're
it
we're
at.
gonna have to do like a Three Stooges spoon, just kind of like, just
I
all
We
call
kind
ain't
of
that
like
doing
shot.
that, bro.
right shoulder. No, just
No, the last
uh,
time they did it at the Caribe Royale Hotel, which was a real convenient location, real nice spot. It was cool. So we'll see. Maybe they'll do it back there again. But anyway, what else you got in the cooker, shebang? Anything else happening, bro?
Shit, man, just just fucking school, man. Just I want to get back into the music, man. I've been helping my brother, kind of set up his new place and get it together, and I feel like over the last month or so, me and my brother have just gotten like very close, which I'm grateful for
Good,
because,
good.
throughout my life, there was a lot of times that I was caught up in my own self-centeredness, my addiction, and all the BS that I feel like I didn't always get to play the big brother role that I should
Mm,
have.
mm.
And the last month, man, me and him have just been like connecting on like such a deep level, and I'm just so grateful for it.
Wow,
So,
bro. I'm
yeah.
so happy to hear that, especially, on a night like tonight, bro, when we're doing this edition of the podcast that we're calling the Friendsgiving edition. Because, let's face it, man, that Thanksgiving holiday, it really is all about family coming together and coming back together and reuniting and stuff like that. And I will tell you, bro, I don't want to sound like no life philosopher and old wisdom and all that shit. You hear me say it a lot, man. One of my favorite sayings is enjoy enjoy the moments, bro, because
Mm,
they go by like that,
yeah,
man. And so I'm glad to hear, man, you and your brother bonding like that because y'all do have that unique connection that a lot of brothers don't of the
yeah.
music, man.
Music,
Y'all
yeah.
both so talented on that level of producing and making music, man. So that makes me happy, bro.
Yeah, man. And it's so funny because like my brother's younger than me, but like my mom will call him my big brother, bro, because like he's
Yeah.
taller than me. He's more I don't want to say more mature, but in a lot of areas he is. He's more disciplined, and I get to thinking like, damn, where the fuck did he get this gene from, man? Like,
Well,
why don't
hey,
I got
bro,
it?
since
you
you
know?
said it, I'm just gonna jump right in there. You said it, I thought it too, because I know you both. He's the more mature one,
Oh
you know.
yeah,
You and I,
dude.
we be acting crazy and shit.
Oh yeah, and that's why like, bro, Cart has a very kind of like me, like very laid back personality. And my brother's like, bro, watch this. I'm about to turn Cart into a fucking unit, man. Like, I'm about to get him right. He's got him going to the gym all the time and got him at a sleep
Good.
schedule and all this shit. And I'm like, man, I'm just so excited to see what comes out of this relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hey, Shebang, I don't want to hold you hostage, bro, and I just can't thank you enough for calling in. And I think I want to ask you about this just real quick, bro, because we're going to transition into some shout outs. And then we're going to just touch on a couple quick stories in the news, couple memes, and wrap the show up. We don't want to go too long tonight. Dean's, he's holed up in his hotel room in Washington,
no, okay.
D.C. So I don't want to hold him hostage too long, which we really appreciate you doing the show tonight, Dean, being on the road and all. But I want to send a shout out to a friend of ours who I guess you went out to show some support to tonight. That boy Joe K
Yes, sir.
celebrating 3 years clean tonight. Shout out Joe.
Shout out,
So
Joe, man.
you got to go see him tonight, eh?
Yeah, it was just like, it took me back, man, because he shared about his first meeting when he got out of treatment, this time around, because Joe, he's got a crazy story like a lot of us, man, but he's been to treatment more than I think anybody else I know. Like, he's up there in the double digits, man. And like, I remember when he first got out, I was there at his first meeting, and he shared about that shit. And it really struck a nerve with me, man. So it was good to
Yeah.
see him tonight. So,
Well, hey, let me share this with you and then we'll let you go, bro, because I want to do another shout out to someone who I know you know and love that I got to see pick up her 18-year medallion last night. There's my sponsor, that girl, Shay
man, shout out
Shay.
Shay, man. Shout
Yeah.
out Shay. Such a wonderful woman, man. For real.
Oh my God, isn't she shebang? And
Great.
this picture right here, she made me not one, but two homemade sweet potato pies for Thanksgiving. And I had my daughter, my son in law over on Thanksgiving, and we had homemade sweet potato pie made by Shay. But she celebrated 18 years clean at midnight Friday. And I know when you were here visiting, bro, I took you to my home group, the No Drama group.
Yes.
And right at midnight, man, she celebrated. We gave her a medallion. And then last
Wow.
night, they had this huge meeting. Man, they ended up doing a count. There were 125
Wow.
people there last night at this meeting in Sacramento that's called Saturday Night Alive. And so Shay and that girl Danielle, who also said hi to you, was there and gave her a medallion. We all went out to eat afterwards, bro, and we just had a ball, man. And so I couldn't resist Shebang showing you that picture, man.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like, I feel like the time I've spent with her was so like limited. I mean, I don't know her too well, right? But it's like the small span of time that I did encounter her, man. I feel like she's taught me a lot about myself that I wasn't able to learn otherwise. So
Yeah, well,
grateful for her.
bro, you don't have to tell me. She's my sponsor, and it's like when I
Right.
when I was looking for a sponsor here in Sacramento, I was kind of on the DL, like scoping people out, listening closely to different
Yep.
people at different meetings and stuff. And we're gonna have her on the podcast sometime. She's come on and talk to us, man. I just haven't had her on yet. She chimed into the chat last week, But if you remember, Dean, it was like right at the tail end of the show. We were literally signing off when she got on, but we're gonna get her back on soon. But it's like you're right, Shebang. I'm listening to her message, and I was like, God damn, she's a real one, man. And you
100%.
know, it's almost like this little unique sponsor sponsee relationship, to this old skinny ass white dude, and here's this older black woman, and it's like we just click, man. And it's
Yeah.
like I needed to have a person, especially, me coming from the business world and this clean cut, all American white shirt and tie wearing kind of guy that, I worked in all them years that, you think I would try to get somebody like that from the professional world and
Mm,
all. And it's like, that's not what I need, man. I don't need
yeah.
somebody that's going to kind of pat me on the ass and say, hey, Glenn, it'll be okay. I need somebody who's a real one who will
Right.
call me out on my shit when I'm acting out. And that's the kind of person Shay is. I mean,
Yeah,
just
man.
one of the most loving, caring people you ever meet, but she's a real one,
Yeah.
and I'm just so grateful to have the friendship I do with her. And I know you do too, bro. And
Yeah,
then
man. It's
we,
just so amazing, man, how the universe puts like the right people, places, and things in your vision, right when you need them. So
Yeah. Well, let
yeah.
me share this with you before we cut you loose, Shebang, because check this out. At the exact same meeting last night, there was this guy there, Brian A, celebrated 50
50.
fucking years
Damn.
clean, bro. And that's a picture of the medallion they gave him. Everybody and that's part of the reason there were so many people there last night. They do this what they call birthday celebration on the last Saturday of the month at this meeting every month, and I guess a lot of people knew this dude was going to be there, and it's kind of a trip because. Shebang, you know my story in NA, bro, that, I came in as a younger man way back in, the 80s, the late 80s, 86, 87. And back then, man, NA didn't have this kind of clean time, it was
Mm,
mostly all younger people in their 20s and even younger in the rooms. And now, here in 2023, almost
mm.
2024, there are a lot of people in NA that have a lot of time. I've never met anybody that had 50 years
50.
clean.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, I've heard a lot of like high
Yeah.
clean times, 40s, but I think that's the first 50, man. Shout out to
Yeah,
him.
yeah, exactly. And so anyway, shout out to that boy Brian who I got to meet last night and celebrated 50. Now check this out. Here's a friend of mine from Orlando, Bruce M. Shout out Bruce. He celebrated 35 years just a
Wow.
couple days ago. And this was a post he made. I finally surrendered and was introduced to a new way of life, full of gratitude to a power greater than me and the people of the 12 step fellowship, one day at a time. So, wow, man. Joe K with 3 years, Bruce with 35, Brian with 50, Shay Shay with
Wow.
18. Man, this shit works,
That's
bro. It
awesome,
works
man.
if you
Is
work
that the
it.
same Bruce now that I met? Like
No,
one of
no,
my
you're thinking of
Okay.
Bruce Gerstein. We used to call him Big Nose Bruce.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yep.
No, he's still clean and still living. Last time I follow him on social media, he likes going to Thailand, man. He goes to them NA conventions in Thailand.
Okay.
Last time I saw him, he was out there, man. But he's still doing good. But I know who you're talking about. And a lot of people who are 12 step people, they'll know Bruce too, because he's a real one, man. He's been around for years. Shout out Bruce if you see this. That's a different Bruce, Bruce M. But he's a real one. A lot of people in the Central Florida area know. So anyway, though, Shebang, man, we're just so glad you called in, man. I'm so happy to see you, bro.
Same,
I
brother.
talked to G on the phone earlier. He always asks about you. That's my son, by the way, y'all, who's been a guest on this program many times. He's a fitness enthusiast and helped coach me back to physical health when I got
Mm.
clean again. And every time I talk to him, Shebang, he always asks about you. And he said to say hey to you when I talked to him
Shout out
earlier
G Money,
today.
man. I'm gonna have to give him a call soon, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
G
that.
Money. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, man, talk about music, we were all visiting in Detroit and you talked about Cart and me, you and G laid that track down to that beat
Man.
Cart made that time. Well, you guys won't let me play it on the show, but one day I'm gonna talk y'all into it.
I was gonna say, I don't know if the audience is ready for that one, bro.
Yeah, it ain't G rated, but maybe we can edit out some of the stuff. My part was G-rated. My part was family friendly. You got
Right.
you were freestyling and got carried away a little bit, but it's all
Yep.
good, man. I just thought I'd razz you about that a little bit. But
Yep. Yep.
anyway, bro, peace. Please say hi to your mom and dad for me. Love y'all, and hey, thank you
Definitely,
so
man.
much for calling in,
Love
Shebang.
you guys, man. I appreciate you guys so much for having me, man.
Oh, bro, we'll have you on again soon,
Yep.
man. And good luck with them classes. I know you're getting near the end of the semester, man. Keep us posted, okay?
Appreciate you, brother. Take care.
All right, peace. Bye. How about that? That boy Shebang on the show. And by the way, Dean, thank you so much for pulling that video up. I didn't know we still had that one on standby there. So I'm sure
Yep,
Shebang
still there.
really appreciated seeing that. Well, hey, man, we're going to go into the news now. We got just a couple of stories, y'all. The opioid crisis in the news is the part of the show we've reached, and I thought we'd show this one. Uh, we talked about this briefly on the show last week that the opioid crisis is crossing over into something darker. And I couldn't resist showing this again this week because it wasn't just a fluke story last week. This is getting coverage in other news outlets. This is one I follow, the Newser, and they're covering the same thing, y'all. And this weird phenomena is happening as a result of the opioid crisis, where because the opioid crisis is getting such a large amount of attention and all this coverage that it's all being laced with fentanyl and all this other shit, and we're all being warned, hey, stay the fuck away from these opiates, man, especially this shit on the street. It's all laced with fentanyl. So now a lot of drug users are switching over to shit like methamphetamine and cocaine. ODs are on the rise. And people with all good intentions, if that's even a good way to put it, I don't think that's the best choice of words, but you get the idea, are trying to get away from the opiates. They're jumping over to meth or coke, but meanwhile, they switch over to that shit, but they still can't kick their opioid addiction because it is so physically addicting. So now all of a sudden, they've got this multi drug addiction going on. And what they're finding is what they call this cocktail of drugs in a lot of these OD cases, where now not are they just, ODing on the opioids and the fentanyl, but they've got meth and coke in their system too. And not to mention the xylazine, Valium, Xanax, Clonopin. It's fucking crazy, man. And it's almost like this indirect result of people trying to get off the opiates. And it's kind of like even what happened with me, y'all, with the booze. I had been sober for years when I was trying to kick opiates. I didn't want to pick the fucking bottle back up. I had no desire to start drinking again, but I was going through such horrible withdrawal symptoms that I somehow justified in my mind, well, fuck it, I'll just take a couple shots, man, to take the edge off these opiate withdrawals till I can get off the shit, and then I'll put the bottle back down. And that fucking backfired on me, and then that snowballed out of control. And before I knew it, I had a fucking drinking habit again. So now I'm hooked on the pills and the fucking booze. And so it's kind of the same thing. That's what's happening with a lot of people that are hooked on the opiates, man, with these street drugs. They're, trying to get off of them. So they're using meth or coke to try to get through the withdrawal symptoms, but then they never even end up putting opiates down. Now they're fucking hooked on all of them. And not to mention, like I said, the xylazine, the Valium, the Xanax. It's just, it's really pretty scary, y'all. And so, again, as I always say on the show, I don't want to read to you or anything like that, but here's the last part of that story. If you look in the middle there, it says stimulants are now being traced in 42% of the opioid overdoses. So what's happening is what they're calling these multi-drug use ODs, because people are trying to find ways to get off of these opiates by using these other drugs, but then they're not even able to put the opiates down. And now with all these overdoses, they're finding these cocktails of drugs, if you will, in people's system. And boy, Dean, I see you shaking your head there, because it's fucked up, isn't it? It's fucking crazy, man.
I think, isn't that like, I mean, it's not far off. It's parallel to like, didn't Michael Jackson, he was taking, different combinations, uppers to take
Yeah,
you up, downers to take you down. So
yeah,
you don't have any control over your personal body anymore. It's all
yeah,
about what pill is going to give me what I need right now. So it's
yeah,
almost like the same thing. You're just you, you know. You might as well
yeah,
just pick which bullet you blow your brain out, you know.
yeah,
Well, 22 will kind of, wound me bad, but 45 will do the trick, what the fuck,
yeah.
does it really are people that stupid to think that they can just kind of like cocktail themselves into stabilizing?
Well, you know what, bro? I get it. I wouldn't use the
Yeah,
word
I
stupid as much as it's just that the addiction has got them by the balls and it fucks your thinking up so bad to,
so common sense
sabotaging your
goes right
thinking
out the window.
into, yeah, yeah. Well,
Personal safety goes right out the window.
oh, yeah. Well, as we even say, man, once you start using the very
Yeah,
first thing that's affected is your judgment. Your
yeah.
judgment just goes
Well,
right out the window. So I guess maybe stupid is a good way to describe it. I
well,
certainly
it's
made a
it's
lot of
harsh, but
stupid
you know
choices
what?
drinking.
You know what's more harsh than just ODing?
Yeah.
Just dying. What's more harsh than that? If I
And
have to offend,
unfortunately,
if I have
that
to
ain't
offend
even the
someone
wake
to
up
say
call.
what they did was stupid, and the act of doing different drugs to do different things to help stabilize the other drug is just stupidity on top of stupidity. I'm sorry if that offends people, but you know what? Yeah, go
Yeah.
see a doctor. You know.
Well, yeah. See, you're getting. I think you're getting to the point too that a lot of people are. You just get so frustrated with this
Yeah.
thing because it's almost like there's just no end in sight. And still, like I often say on this podcast, bro, if you think this thing is getting better, you are badly mistaken. It just keeps getting worse. And this is a prime example of it. And like I said, Dean, I that word stupidity, yeah, maybe it did kind of
It's brutal,
get
sure.
me
Yeah.
a little sensitive, but you're right because I've made a lot of stupid choices when I was under the influence. So you're not off base by saying that, bro.
Well,
When we're using, we make stupid decisions.
if I fell down, hit my head, and I was bleeding out the ears, and I just go, I'll just take some aspirin.
Yeah,
You'd
yeah.
call me stupid. I deserve that. And when I, go into convulsions and lose my bodily functions and just die on the floor, I'd be stupid. People die
Well,
of
I'll
stupidity
also
all
say,
the
bro,
time.
that it is a sickness, Dean,
Yeah,
and when people are caught in the
absolutely.
grips of addiction, it sabotages your mental decision making
Yeah.
where you can't make rational or logical choices till you get off of that shit and get it out of your system. But again, I will agree with you that, when you're under the influence of that shit, you do make stupid choices. That's what happens. And it's just
I I
frustrating.
can I can say that, sure, coming from me, yeah, it's brutal and harsh and unevolved, but I'm just, oh my God,
No, I get it, bro.
how many more times, how many more people that are just kind of, just getting up in the morning, drinking their coffee and think the world is just wonderful for everyone that isn't, that's them.
Yeah.
How wonderful it is for us, and people just aren't pissed off enough to
Yeah.
just say, why the fuck isn't Narcan on every street corner
Yeah.
free? Why the hell is why the hell are pharmaceutical companies stepping all over each other to push the next big thing?
Yeah.
And who takes the punishment of it? I was just, while you guys were talking, I was kind of looking at some news bits because I know you didn't do a lot of news stuff for this show since we're,
Yeah.
and I just saw something on I think ABC had released something just a couple of days ago on the court proceedings. I guess they're going to be taking arguments over that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. In
I'll
fact, we're going to talk about that in the
okay.
next
So,
story. Yeah.
okay, so you've got that locked in. But I
Well,
don't know.
here,
It's just
let's go
yeah.
ahead and jump to it. Here's the next story. Oxycontin makers settlement plan divides
Yeah.
victim of the opioid crisis. And now, excuse me, as you said, it's up to the Supreme Court. And like it says right here, man, they're going to be talking about this $6 billion that the Sackler family has agreed to, and they're going to start hearing arguments this week, December 4th, over whether the
Right.
agreement violates federal law, because what had happened was, as they say, it's protected the Sackler family from uh, any personal lawsuits by agreeing to this settlement. So,
Yeah, and they could just sit on the money and fight it for the next 20 years so people don't get anything. But, and of course, why people are divided is some people just want the money. I can
yeah,
understand that. Some people do just want the money. And then some people want the principle and saying, look, why the hell are you protecting a billionaire
yeah,
whose sole profit is tied up with exposing public to harmful narcotics
yeah, it's crazy.
and covering it up?
Well, and you know what? As we just mentioned, that is coming up in the Supreme Court starting December 4th. So we'll
Yeah.
keep an eye on it, y'all. And as Dean mentioned, just a couple of news stories this week, because this is a little bit of an unusual edition of the Dare Me podcast. Usually I'm the one out on the road, and this week Dean happens to be on the road. He's coming to us live from Washington, D.C., where he's been for the weekend doing a live stream for that table tennis tournament. And it's not Jula. You say the J is silent, Dean. Hula.
Yeah, it's Eula, yeah.
Yeah, the Hula Table Tennis Tournament, which is one of the largest table tennis tournaments in the entire world. And again, Dean, I don't know if you heard it, but I was watching, and they were giving big shout outs and props to you and your team for the live stream you guys provided for that. So, anyway, Dean went out of his way to get us on the air tonight with the podcast. He's coming to us live from Washington, D.C., the Post Effects Digital Studio, PFX Media Digital Studio in Orlando is dark tonight, but Dean will be back there again next Sunday. Of course, I'm here coming to you live from Sacramento, California. We want to send another shout out to our friend Asim, who called in tonight from Saudi Arabia. We had a live caller from Saudi Arabia tonight, our friend Asim. Thank you so much for all the kind words and encouragement to continue on what we're doing with this podcast, Asim. We also want to send a shout out to Shebang, who called us from Detroit, Michigan on the phone, spent some time with us. We want to say hi to Eric in the chat room from Brooklyn, Michigan. We want to say hi to Phil and Rob, who chimed in the chat room from Orlando, Florida, and to everyone else watching and listening. We can see how many viewers and listeners we got. We got quite a few still. So thanks, guys, for staying with us tonight. And of course, shout out to everybody who comes across the recorded version of the show, because after we finish going live, we post it on all the platforms. I always try to guide people to that Dare Me podcast YouTube channel. I oversee that one. All the episodes are listed there. If you could give us a like, a share, and please subscribe to that Dare Me Podcast YouTube channel. If you go there, you click on the videos tab, every single episode is listed there in chronological order. You can go back and watch them all. And before we wrap it up, we always like to end on a little bit of a humorous note. So we got just a couple funny memes tonight. I thought we'd share this one, y'all. We talk about all these serious stories in the news and how now as a result of the opioid crisis, a lot of people hooked on opes are turning to other drugs like coke and methamphetamine. And it's, of course, it's a very serious topic, y'all. People are dying out there. We also try to have a sense of humor about things going on. You got to lighten up sometimes. And so I follow all these funny memes online all week, and I try to pull one or two or three or four here and there when I see them. And I thought this one was kind of funny. Uh, Cuban coffee, why meth never took off in Miami. And if you've ever been down to Miami and drank some of that Cuban coffee, you know what I'm talking about. And speaking of Miami, we'll be, taking a visit to Miami here in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go out and see my son G and my daughter-in-law Awana, and then I'll be in Orlando to visit Dean that weekend, where we're going to do the podcast live together from Dean Studios. That's the weekend of, oh gosh, I think it's December 10th or 11th or whatever it is. But yeah, going down to Miami. So this little meme reminded me of that, man, because that Cuban coffee is definitely strong. And then uh, here again, y'all, it might be a little sick humor for some caught up in the addiction. But my friend Guy posted this. I couldn't resist lifting it. Just 34 sleeps until Christmas unless you smoke meth. Then it's like five. And the thing of it is, man, that's one drug. Thank God I never did pick up, because I'm sure if I would have, probably fell in love and got hooked like a lot of other people I know, from the rooms that I meet that got clean off of that shit. Ain't no fucking joke getting clean off of that drug, y'all. But, as we've all heard and, different stories, man, people get hooked on that shit, and they'll go on these binges where, yeah, they're up for days on end, and man, that ain't no joke. So, anyway, this, of course, making a little humor about that. So, on a positive note, y'all, before we wrap up the show, I like this one. Look in the mirror. That's your competition. And that is ordinarily the case with me, even when it comes to things like not just staying off the dope, but going to the gym. Sometimes I got to power through it, man. I ain't always in the mood to do that. So it's like sometimes my biggest competition is my damn self. But anyway, with all that said, y'all, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Dean, thank you again for everything you do, especially this week being out of town. I know it was a little unusual. We want to thank everybody who chimed into the show. And like we often say on this program, if you're going through hell, keep fucking going. You'll come out the other side. I was able to get clean, y'all, after a hell of an addiction to that opioid pain medication, y'all. And now I've been clean for almost 2 years and 9 months. Can't believe it. And it's all because of the support and encouragement. All my friends, all my family, people like Awesome, people like Shebang, people like our friends in the chat room, and everybody else who encourages me. I appreciate y'all more than you know. So happy Friendsgiving to everyone. Dean, anything you want to add before we wrap it up tonight?
I think you said it all.
All right, bro. Well, thanks again. And we will see y'all next time on the Dare Me podcast. So long.